All right. And we're live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Wolf. Happy Tuesday morning. I kept thinking this one was going to be starting on time. It's going to maybe take a few days to get all the back end stuff here in order, but hopefully you guys can hear me. We're going to run through some of the news today and top stories and keep this one quick. These live streams are likely not going to go more than 30 minutes because they're daily. Just running through the top stories. The goal is not to take your time. The goal is to give you back your time and to just run through the top things you missed in the last 24 hours, catch you up to date with anything that's going on. I may have missed a few things that just came out because these things were just kind of racked up in the last few hours here. But we're going to just run through the top stories just so you know what's going on. Please do retweet the stream if you haven't already and let people know that we're live. I'm going to run through each of these stories real fast. We have a space starting in 9 minutes here on X, actually. And so interesting stuff here going across in the markets. Right now, the first one I have is Kazakhstan's president proposing a crypto reserve. And I think this is so fascinating because I have no idea, depending on what circles you roll in, some people are more of a Bitcoin only crowd. Some people are more of a, it's all one and the same kind of thing. It just depends what kind of crowd you come from. But I am curious on what the perspective is of world leaders on the industry. And if they think something like an XRP or Litecoin, some of these other altcoins, if they find any of these things intriguing at all, or if for them, it's just like, hey, this thing is getting a lot of attention. We need to diversify and hop on this trend a little bit. I have no idea what their attack is here, because in my head, the reserve only makes sense for a very limited amount of assets. It's there to grow. You're supposed to get richer from that, right? And so like putting speculative assets is already high risk, but then to put something in there with no supply in most cases and a bunch of random coins in there, I don't know if that's so much of an investment. It's more so just like a Hail Mary, but it was very interesting. Very interesting from Kazakhstan. Another thing that's pretty interesting that keeps happening, I feel like, is another solo miner mining a Bitcoin block. This one worth $347,000. I feel like this is happening every other week now for the solo miners. So many people are saying there's no opportunities for solo miners. And I know it's, 1 in a million, but these guys just pulled out over $500,000. So crazy win there. Another story we have coming at you is Putin's spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, says all messaging apps, including WhatsApp, Telegram, and Signal, fully accessible to spy agencies. And this was actually not the only clip. This clip, along with another one, actually, where it was, I believe, a different advisor to Putin was live. And I saw it on Bitcoin News earlier, which is a great resource, by the way. If you guys aren't already following Bitcoin News, there's a few of them. There's Bitcoin Magazine, Bitcoin News, and a few others that are really, really great accounts for keeping up to date with everything you can see. I may be wrong. I thought there's another post here from the president's advisor talking about getting into the industry as well. I could be wrong. Maybe that was a different post. Not sure about that one. Another story we have coming at you, which is very interesting, is the NASDAQ to invest $50 million into Bitcoin and crypto exchange Gemini. And apparently this is going to be in the form of going into the stock world as a actual listing, as well as just them getting a little bit of help. And I think this is probably going to be the start, maybe not the start, but this is going to be just the first of many stories where we have crypto companies entering into the traditional finance world. And it's only going to be a select few, it's going to be the top ones, the ones that are not fully public yet, but are the ones that generally people look at and say that's the top. And so a lot of people in, Wall Street are saying, hey, we got to make sure these companies have to be sound. Like we can't just have, you guys are private. Obviously, you guys have been doing whatever you want the last few years. And now we're in a different presidential environment in regards to crypto. And it's a little bit easier to get things rolling, maybe. And so it does look like they're working hand in hand. The NASDAQ, as you guys know, all these guys are making money off the fees. So it's in their best interest that people get excited. They don't really care in most cases what it is. And so, we're going to have Gemini entering the public space. So congrats, I think. We'll see how it goes. I'm not sure what to think when companies go public, especially this late in a bull market. But here we are. So anyways, we have for Bitcoin Magazine, Congress introducing bill directing the Treasury to outline a plan to custody Bitcoin acquired by the federal government, including Bitcoin held in the strategic Bitcoin reserve. I think it's great to have. And also, these things are important to keep track of. And, it's really the first time ever that Bitcoin has been in this place where we're like, oh yeah, something happened. There's a new bill, there's new whatever. And that was really not happening. I mean, I remember a few years ago when I was here, there was all this talk about what's going to happen, and what's to come. And, once this happens, we'll finally get this respect. We'll finally get this regulation passed, whatever it is. And I really haven't found that to be the case. It seems like every single time nothing was going to happen. But this year pretty much changed everything. And I think that's why so many people are unsure of what to think. They're thinking, okay, is this going to be a 4-year cycle? For real? Are we really, after all this news and announcements and accumulation from institutions and countries and ETFs and fund managers, we're just going to go into hibernation for a couple of years again? Like, that can't be right. And I think that's a fascinating conversation because I agree with them. There's no way we could go back to the old way. But at the same time, in the next 4 weeks, we're going to have to find out, because the market's either going to downturn and it's going to fit in line with that exact story of what I just outlined a second ago with Gemini. All these companies going public, piling in at the very end of the cycle. It sounds too good to be true, and it sounds exactly like everything that would be kind of lining up for a rough end of year / topping scenario. So that's kind of like my one big fear, is that everything seems to be lining up perfectly for a 4-year cycle. Yet at the same time, it also seems to be lining up perfectly with a this will never end cycle. And this is the beginning of an institutional assets here. Now we're in the 2 trillion, 3 trillion asset world. We're not talking about currencies. We're not in the same conversation as we were prior. And I get the sense that they're right. We'll have to see. We'll definitely be keeping track. A couple other stories come out. We got about 3 minutes left, so we're going to be speed running through here. But we have Ledger CTO Charles Goulement warning of a supply chain attack on the JavaScript ecosystem after an NPM account's compromise. So essentially, all you need to know was yesterday, basically everyone was saying, do not go on and use your wallets. Don't use any on-chain transactions if you can help it. It's not worth the risk right now. Something happened, and a lot of people using these rails of code are going to get cooked, was essentially the story. So that was a pretty big story, actually, bigger than most people let on. That's the reason I even titled it this on the actual YouTube title. But everyone was talking about it. Next thing, we have ABTC, who just went public last couple days. Now the Trump family stake in American Bitcoin is worth over $1.5 billion. Just a start, really, of President Trump trying to add and accumulate wealth for his family. This, amongst many other things like World Liberty Fi, the new stablecoin play. I mean, the Trump family is going to be generationally wealthy. It's ridiculous. And they're making sure with the last few moves they've made in the industry on their own. We also have, just as a reminder, that all the currencies are cooked against Bitcoin. We have the Japanese yen here collapsing against the price of gold since 2008. It's really depressing when you see it. It's so bad that people don't really know what to think when I show them charts like this, or I'll show them the dollar charts. They don't really know. Their brain doesn't really compute it. They're kind of like, and they sort of freeze. And I think that's fascinating. But listen, that's all the time we have today. Started a little bit late today. Hopefully we're going to get these going in the next couple of weeks and have a bit more structure to them. But I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Please do retweet the stream if you enjoyed it. And hopefully we didn't take away too much of your time and you have a bit more clarity going into the day ahead. Catch you guys all in the stream over on X, by the way, on Wolf Bitcoin. We'll be streaming there on Spaces from 11 to 12, talking about the market. And traders are going to be coming in to talk about the market. And that's where we do the Market Talk show. And at 12 p.m. Eastern, we have a space with a crypto company, which will be interesting. And then we have Bitcoin space over at 3 p.m. Eastern on Wolf Bitcoin. You can find all the information down below in the description if you're watching on X. Catch you guys there in 2 seconds. We're starting that show in about right now. Catch you guys there.